Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Welcome along to this Monday Postcast. As per usual, I am Maddy Playle. I'm joined in the studio by my good pal Nick Watts, and we have Paul Binfield from Paddy Power on the line joining us as well. Well, what a weekend it was. We had Cheltenham Trials Day giving us all those clues, or maybe less so, for the festival. And we're going to also be looking ahead to the Dublin Racing Festival later on in the show as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But first up, let's get stuck into Cheltenham then. Gold Cup clues. Maybe we saw them, maybe we didn't in the Cotswold Chase. Nick, what did you think of Santini? He seems to be a little bit of a Marmite horse. Are you liking him or disliking him?
Yeah, I can't really understand the Marmite factor because, he's had a very good career and a very successful career. And the only thing I'm put it down to is the fact that he often I think from a punting perspective, people are always looking for value. And sometimes he probably does go off a shade shorter than he maybe should do. And he has done for several races in the past. And maybe that's why people don't particularly like him, because they're looking for reasons to oppose him and get on at something at bigger prices. But, in terms of racecourse performance, he's been very good. The RSA run last year looks obviously better now than maybe it did at one point in time. Delta Works obviously come out and shown the form in a good light. Yes, he was disappointing at Sandown, at the back end of last year. But, when you listen to trainers, sometimes you take more heed of them than what they say in certain circumstances than others. And when Nicky Henderson said that Santini needed an awful lot of work and he's been piling it into him since that run, it did kind of make sense because he can race a bit lazily. Sometimes his jumping, again on Saturday, isn't quite foot perfect, but he's only raced 5 times over fences, and what he did on Saturday was take an absolutely huge step forward from what he showed at Sandown on his return. He's shown several times in the past that Cheltenham is a track that he enjoys, and I think that's because he's an out-and-out stayer, and he'll have a bit further to go in the Gold Cup as well. So I think Henderson is right to expect improvement from this run. I'm sure it will be forthcoming. I'm sure his jumping can get much slicker. Again, there's a stat. I don't think a horse since Looks Like Trouble has completed the Cotswold Chase Cheltenham Gold Cup double. And I think that's back in the year 2000. So this race has been a graveyard for Gold Cup aspirants. But if you can get over that, then there's no reason why Santini can't run a big race. And he's just beaten last year's third comfortably. So he's definitely in the mix.
Yeah, indeed. Binners, what do you make of Santini? As Nick alluded to, there is that sort of barren spell of Cotswold Chase winners going on to win the Gold Cup. Do you think he can go and do it?
Well, I hope so, Maddy, because we sponsored the race on Saturday, and what a great renewal it was. I admit I thought Bristol de May would win the race. Pleasantly surprised by Santini, even though he cost the bookies a few quid, a winning favourite on a Saturday. But we went 7-1 from 9-1 for the Cheltenham Gold Cup immediately after the race, Maddy. Nicky Henderson has been pretty bullish since then, so as Nick has alluded to, get more work into him, the better he'll be. And he's into 13-2 now. That makes him third in the market between the two big Irish horses. Last year's winner, Alboom Photo, heading the market at 4-1, and Kenboy second in at 11-2.
Yeah, so punters are clearly warming up to Santini. One horse who they're already red hot on is, of course, Paisley Park, who won the Cleve Hurdle for the second time. It was billed as a bit of a match race between him and If the Cap Fits, who was unexposed over staying trips. Watsy Paisley Park, it was a similar story to what we've seen before from him. He still looked absolutely head and shoulders above the rest, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird. We've had big bucks come along in our lifetimes, not so long ago, and he was invincible over staying distances, and Paisley Park, he could go on a very long winning run himself. There's no reason why he couldn't, because as you said, whatever gets thrown at him, he just copes with it and he throws it back out and wins easily. And Somerville Boy is absolutely no mug, obviously a previous festival winner of the Supreme. You had If the Cap Fits in there, which was a matchup we were all looking forward to. As with most matches, it didn't quite materialise. If the Cap Fits, I wonder if he's slightly better on a flatter track. Because he looked like he was going to tail right off, but then he kind of ran on again after the line. So I think he might be one to look out for at Liverpool, but you wouldn't go to Cheltenham confident with him on the back of that performance. But I'm sure Somerville Boy will have another crack at him at Cheltenham. But, it was a slowly run race on Saturday, and often Paisley Park can hit in the flat spot, as Big Bucks used to do. But there was not even a hint of that at the weekend, and he was just absolutely flawless. And because he's such a strong stayer, that if he's anywhere thereabouts at the last, then he's going to be so strong to the line, particularly at Cheltenham. And I think it's a mountain to climb for any horse other than him going for the Stayers Hurdle. And I think what else it would have done, which is unfortunate actually, is I think it would have persuaded Rich Ritchie and Willie Mullins to send Benny Didier down the mare's route.
Yeah, let's talk about her now then. That gives us a good opportunity. She won the Galmoy Hurdle at Gorham Park really, really impressively. Again, maybe another matchup didn't materialise as Apple's Jade weakened out of the picture. But what did you take from that comeback from her? Did you expect it?
Yeah, I thought she would win. I thought it'd be a little bit closer, but Apple's Jade, as we've seen in the last couple of seasons, is very in and out these days, so you're never quite sure what to expect from her. It was difficult as a viewing spectacle because obviously it was a very foggy day at Garin, but what you could see when she approached the line was that she was an awful long way clear and didn't seem very hard pressed to be so either. So yeah, she's obviously a top class mare, but like I said, will they want to take on Paisley Park? And I think it was on the TV on Saturday, Matt Chapman said, look, Willie Mullins isn't into the kind of romantics of the game and saying, wouldn't it be great if to see the matchup? He wants to win as many races at Cheltenham as he can. And, unfortunately for us, punters and viewers, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Benny Didier, they'll play it safe, or as safe as you can be, as you see what happened last year. So nothing's totally set in stone, but all things being equal, she'll win that.
Yeah, okay. Just jumping back to Paisley Park, something I'm quite interested in. Paul Keeley, I know he's a big advocate. He doesn't believe in idling. Do you think Paisley Park would have had more to offer if another horse would have came to him up the hill on Saturday? Because he just pricks his ears and looks around, doesn't he?
I'd say so. I always think that when a horse can run up a sequence in top class races as he has done, I think that was 8 on the spin then. I think if you exert yourself to the max every single time, then your winning run may not last that long. I think all these good horses, they keep a bit back for themselves, and Abel never used to look pretty on the flat, or not often look pretty anyway, but she used to get the job done. And I think it's those kind of horses that, can just pull it out when they need to. I think those are the ones that go on these long winning runs, and, I can't see Paisley Park being beaten this season anyway.
Okay, bold statement there from Nick. Binners, Paisley Park, what price is he now for Stayers Hurdle Glory once again?
Well, Maddy, once again, a winning favourite on a big Saturday. Not a great result for the bookies, but we were cheering him home at Power Tower because that means that Paisley Park goes into the race we've just announced we're sponsoring, the Paddy Power Stayers Hurdle at the festival, goes in there as a very warm favourite, one of the bankers of the meeting, a shade of odds on now, 10 to 11 favourite from 5 to 4. You and Nick were talking about a possible matchup with Benny Didier. Well, if the market is right, and that is a possible, because we went 8 from 14 for her after her win last week, and she's now into 5 to 1. So it suggests that someone thinks she's going to run in the race. Although countering that, we went evens for the Mare's Hurdle for her immediately after that win in Ireland last week, and she is now a fraction of odds on at 10 to 11 for that. So it remains to be seen where she goes. But Paisley Park, he just keeps on winning.
We're used to that Willie Mullins bingo, aren't we? Another trainer who's going to have a shade of bingo with his horses is Colin Tizard. He's got plenty of impressive novices, and Harry Senior thrown his hat into the ring at Cheltenham as well. He's now got Harry Senior, Master Debonair, the Big Breakaway, Fiddler on the Roof. Where would you go? What would you do? What do you think of them all?
It's a great position to be in, isn't it? And, he keeps pulling rabbits out of the hat. And like you said, there was another one at the weekend. I think Connections are very disappointed that the runner-up got beaten. I think they King Roland, they fancied the chances quite strongly and think a lot of that horse. So for Harry Senior to go and do that to him, I thought was very impressive. I think he'll actually be suited by further, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Albert Bartlett was on their agenda. Horse they won, race they won obviously recently with Kilbrick and Storm. So I think he could go a lot further. He could be one for the 3 miler, but as ever, you can build a strong team for Cheltenham. You still need an awful lot of things to go right. So they've got really good chances going into the event, but they'll be happy to take one of the novice events. I would think you can't be too fussy at Cheltenham. But yeah, Harry Senior, adds to their strength, doesn't he?
In terms of ability, who would you have as top of those 4 that I mentioned?
There's something about Fiddler on the Roof that I quite like. I think it's that progression. I think the way he won at Sandown last time out really impressed me. So I think him. But yeah, out of the forward, but it's a tough call. It's a tricky question, that.
It is. Binners, how did the market react to Harry Senior's win?
Well, Colin Senior seemed to indicate that the 3 miler was going to be the one, unless it was testing ground at Cheltenham. We went 12-1 from first show for the Albert Bartlett, but he's into 10-1, possibly as a reaction to Colin's thoughts. And for the Ballymore, we made him a 16-1 chance immediately after his win at Cheltenham, but he's now out to 20. So we think he's Albert Bartlett bound.
Okay, fantastic. So there were our Cheltenham clues from the weekend. More of that a bit later on when we talk about the Dublin Racing Festival. But now, perhaps some Aintree clues. Doncaster, they staged the Skybet Chase, and it was won by OK Corral under Derek O'Connor. Another fantastic finish that we saw at the weekend. This horse was getting back to form, Watsy. He previously well fancied for the Ladbrokes Trophy. Would you consider him a candidate for the Grand National now?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because he was well fancied for the 4 miler last year and he didn't really come up to scratch, whether that was down to staying power or whether it's something else. I'm not sure. Obviously, it was a real war of attrition, that 4 miler last season, so we know that's why the race has been changed. So maybe I'd be tempted to forgive him that. I think Derek O'Connor said some very interesting things afterwards. He said kind of speed favouring tracks would suit him best, possibly flat tracks and a bit of good ground. So you instantly think of Aintree. Would he stay? I mean, on last year's evidence, maybe he wouldn't. And a lot of people were thinking bringing him back in trip was the right thing to do because, he was a non-stayer. But he did grind it out well there because I thought he was getting the wrong end of that battle, up the home straight with Millie Wanacott for a long way on finger on the switch. But, he's really shown, application there to go and get up on the line. And he's actually won with a fair bit in hand as well, I think. So, I don't know. We haven't got entries yet for the Grand National. Obviously, they'll be out next month. Wouldn't be surprised to see him in amongst them somewhere. He's not kind of top of my radar for Aintree, but it's good to see him coming back to something like his best. And of course, he hails from the Albert Bartlett of a few years ago when Santini was third.
Yeah, indeed. Good Albert Bartlett, that, wasn't it? Ramsey's Detai, he won the River Don. Smart bit of plating from David Pipe, who had a tough weekend, of course, losing Warthog at Cheltenham. What did you make of him? I mean, do you think it's a sort of, he's got to play a game now with where to place him, or do you think he can go back into staying chases?
Yeah, I'm sure that's the plan. You see quite a few trainers at this time of year. Maybe, I think Walk in the Mill is another one who's due for a run over hurdles sometime this week. And obviously,
Nicky Henderson tried it with Valtor, didn't he? Sent him.
Yeah, and it's obviously that time of year where if you do win a big race or a big chase, rather, the weights for the Grand National, the weights lunch, which I'm sure Paul will be attending. Great event that in the middle of February. That's when the weights get announced. So often trainers do run in a few hurdle races and then give them a spin over fences after that when their mark can't be changed.
Yeah, Binners, the Grand National, obviously no one's going to be getting really stuck into any of these horses just yet, but did you introduce either OK Corral or Ramsey's to tie into your betting?
Yeah, actually, Maddy, we've put them into both races at the Grand National at both at the same price. So OK Corral is a 33-1 chance, so is Ramsey Detai. And since Saturday, Nicky Henderson's been making noises that he probably will run at Aintree. So 33-1 sounds a big price, but there aren't that many ahead of him in the early market at this stage of the year.
Yeah, just opening the floor up now then to some other notebook horses that we might have seen on Saturday. Mr. Fisher, Lady Buttons, they were impressive. We haven't spoken about the handicap at Cheltenham, of course. Any horse particularly who took your eye?
Yeah, I thought the novice handicap at Cheltenham can often be a really informative race. It's really, to use the old cliche, one to set the video recorder for, because it often has a bearing on what happens in March. And I thought there's a lot to take from the front two. Simply the Bets obviously won very nicely, but Imperial Aura wasn't disgraced either in second. I thought at one stage he looked like he might be starting to feel the pinch and drop away, but not a bit of it. He came home really strongly. I wouldn't rule him out at all from a handicap at Cheltenham in March, maybe the novice handicap on the end of the first day. And another horse who's showing signs of a revival is Layla or Lawler, who's put 2 good runs together now, probably on ground that really doesn't favour him. So it's to his credit that he's run as well as he did. And if he gets a bit of dry ground in the spring, you only have to go back to the beginning of last season. He was on probably Arkle favourite actually after his devastating first run over fences at Cheltenham. And the signs are that he might be getting back to somewhere kind of in that kind of range again. So again, he'd be interesting if there was a bit of dry ground come March.
Yeah, Trials Day historically it does have quite a good record at throwing up festival winners. So there's a couple for your notebook. We will take a quick break now, but stick with us to talk about the Dublin Racing Festival next.
I'm Jose Mourinho. I know a thing or two about being special. Finding pastel de natas in a London cafe? Special. Winning the daily jackpot on Paddy Power games? Not special.
Understood, Jose. Yes, someone wins an average £40,000 jackpot every single day. So if you win, don't think you're special. Daily Jackpots by Paddy Power Games. Jackpots must be awarded by 11 p.m. and vary from day to day. Jackpot is shared with other operators. Available on selected games. T's and C's at paddypower.com. 18 plus BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back then, and as I promised at the top of the show, now we're going to look to the Dublin Racing Festival on the weekend. Now, although there's good action at Sandown and elsewhere, Bruce and the team are going to cover that in more detail on Friday, but we just have to get stuck into this now because it is really two of the best days that side of the Irish Sea in the calendar year. Saturday is going to be our first port of call. The 125 is the second Grade 1 on the card, I believe. It's the Ladbrokes Dublin Chase over 2 miles and a furlong, and this could be a real burn-up. Binners, it's a division that's got a lot of people excited this year with Defi Desoy's exploits and Altior sort of drama going on this side of the Irish Sea, but we're still yet to find out what Chacun Poursuit and A Plus Tard are really capable of. This could be a cracker.
I think it will be, Maddy. I think the first one of those Chacun Poursuit will come out on top in this, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. But we make him 11-10 favourite for the Dublin Chase. A Plus Tard, who beat him last time, is 5-2 joint second favourite, along with Sealouse Emery, 6-1 Min. A few horses on 14-1, including the Great Earned So, and it's 25-1 after that.
Indeed. I know you're quite keen on a sneaky one here, Silas Emery. Why do you like him so much?
I think he's just gone completely under the radar. He doesn't even get mentioned. He doesn't get many column inches, but he's always been a very good horse. He was a Grade 1 winning hurdler. And he's done very well since going over fences. He's won a Grade 3 and a Grade 2 this season comfortably. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. He has been a little bit injury prone, which is why we don't see him very often, and perhaps why he doesn't get the coverage, which, he's had a very good career. Again, running plans are far from clear at this moment in time. If he was to take his chance, then he might represent a bit of value. If you ask me a straight question, who I think will win out of A Plus Tard and Chacun Poursuit,
you can read my mind. I was about to do that.
It would definitely be Chacun Poursuit. I think he might have been just caught cold a little bit by A Plus Tard last time out. He was a very good horse in his own right, as we know. Probably better over a little bit further. But he still travelled into the race really, really well and just didn't quite see it through strongly enough to repel the Henry de Bromhead horse. But with that run under his belt, I would expect him to turn the tables, and I would expect him to be well punted to do so as well. So, yeah, I do have a passing interest in Silas Emery, and I'll be interested to see if they take their chance. Wouldn't be surprised if they didn't and they found something else for him between now and Cheltenham. And in the event of kind of it turning into a match, I would definitely be on Chacun Poursuit's camp, I think.
That's interesting because he was beaten fair and square last time, but I think fitness-wise he'll come on for that. If that's the Championship 2-milers, we're then going to look back to the horses who could make up into similar horses in time. For the Arkle Novices Chase, a Grade 1 over the same trip at 2 o'clock. And some really bright prospects in here. Cashback, Melon, both for Willie Mullins. Notebook is in there. Bapom, another Mullins raider. And the likes of Fakir Dudery. So it'd be interesting to see who turns up. Binners, who do you have top of the 2-mile novice chasing tree at the minute?
Well, we've got Notebook in there as 7-4 favourite, Maddy. Then Fakir Dudery at 2-1. 4-1 Cashback, my fancy for the race. 7 Bapom, 10-1 Melon. And it's 14-1 the rest. And
Cashback, what is it about him that you like so much?
Well, Maddy, I think he. If you look at the official ratings, he's got a little bit to find with the front two in the market, but he's 2 from 2 over fences. The bigger obstacles seem to have brought a lot of improvement in this horse this year. I think he jumps with bum. He absolutely hosed up at Naas last time earlier in the month, and I really do think that he can give Notebook and Fakir something to think about at Leopardstown on Saturday.
I'm a big Notebook fan, as you know if you watch these postcasts. What do you think of this bunch? I know Paul Keeley's very keen on Bapom. Their Binners is putting his case forward for Cashback. Who are you going to side with?
I'm with you on this one. I like Notebook. Yeah, he's looked very good, and he's taken exactly the same route, I think, as Sizing Europe took for Henry de Bromhead a few years ago. He won the Craddockstown at Punchestown. Then he went to the Grade 1 at Leopardstown over Christmas and won that quite comfortably as well. Just really impressed with the horse. His jumping has been great. The Fakir Duda is quite interesting because I think he's got a few options at the weekend. And I think he might be in the Scilly Isles as well at Sandown. So he could be an interesting one in that if he comes over. Him going around Sandown could be a real good sight. So that could be a good spot for him if Joseph O'Brien sends him over here. Because based on last time, I don't think I'd fancy him to reverse that form. I think I'd expect Notebook to confirm it. So, yeah, he would be my one at this stage. Although Paul mentioned the 10-1 Melon, that sounding quite attractive to me as well.
Yeah, he put up a nice performance last time, doesn't he? Maybe he doesn't quite get the credit he deserves, Melon. One race which could, again, send shockwaves through the Cheltenham Antipost markets is at 3:10. It's the PCI Irish Champion Hurdle over 2 miles. And here, hopefully, we'll see Honeysuckle take on Sharjah. Apples Jade's in there as well. Of course, she was disappointing in the Galmoy Hurdle we mentioned earlier. Classical Dream and Envoy Alen as well. We don't know if he'll take part. Honeysuckle, are you for or against for the Champion Hurdle in mind? Because she hasn't taken on horses of this calibre just yet, but she's looked superb in everything else she's done. Yeah,
this is the acid test for her, isn't it? And, I don't fancy her for Cheltenham, not for the Champion Hurdle. So it kind of follows that I think she might be bested at the weekend. I'd quite like Sharjah.
He's the proven form, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a funny horse, Sharjah, isn't he? He's kind of had me flummoxed in the past. You think he's top class, and then you throw in something not quite so good, and then kind of bounce back. And
does that say something about the state of the division as a whole? Do you think they're all a bit muddled together?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that kind of makes it exciting in one sense. There's not kind of an out-and-out favourite, or there's no horse dominating the division. So you would hope that anyone who's got a Champion Hurdle horse anywhere, who's got an even passing fancy for the race would turn up and have a go. And that's what I'm hoping. I don't know what the plans are for Envoy Alen. I don't know if he had a hard race last time and they're going straight to Cheltenham. I thought that's the noises they were making afterwards. And the strong chance is that he'll, stick to the novice division. But to my mind, he was much more impressive in the Royal Bond than he was last time out over further. When he won his Grade 1 last time, and everyone thought Step Up in Trip would suit him and he'd be even better. To my mind, he kind of looked all out at the end of that race last time out, whereas I thought he was always in control of beating
So if he turns up
Abracadabras.
here, do you think he could be vulnerable then?
Who's that?
Envoy Alen.
No, I'm making the point that I thought to what I saw, he looked more impressive over 2 miles at Fairy House over Christmas than he did, over further last time out. So I'd like to see him run. I don't think he will run at the weekends, and particularly bearing in mind what Connection said last time. But ultimately, I'd like to see him running the Champion Hurdle, because I think if you've got a horse there or thereabouts, it's one of those years you should have a crack.
Yeah, this sport's all about the big clashes, isn't it? And whether he does or doesn't run, we'll still hopefully see Honeysuckle at the weekend. Binners, what do you think of this bunch? Can she sort of set the pulse racing in the division, Honeysuckle?
Well, possibly, Maddy, but I'm not losing any faith with Classical Dream. We make Honeysuckle the 11-8 favourite, 15-8 Sharjah, 7-2 Classical Dream, and it's 14-1. But as I said, I really fancy Classical Dream. Bad mistake in the Grade 1 at Leopardstown over Christmas when odds on that day. This time you can get 7-2 about that one. Probably needed the run first time. Before that bad mistake at Leopardstown, and he was brilliant in the Supreme and the Champion Novice Hurdle at Punchestown. As I say, I've certainly not lost any faith in him.
Okay, excellent. Now, we spoke of Santini earlier in the review section and what his Cotswold Chase win would mean for the Gold Cup picture. Now, another race which is going to be pinnacle is the Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup, Grade 1 over 3 miles, and this is on the Sunday at 3:30. Now, Delta Work, he was third behind Santini in that RSA Chase we mentioned earlier, and he's set to take his chance alongside Kenboy, Presenting Percy and Chris's Dream. Just go through your market at the moment for us, Binners.
Well, we're going crazy on this sponsorship at the moment. Maddy, delighted to be sponsoring this one. We've got Kenboy at the head of the market, 13-8, joint favourite with Delta Work, who turned him over last time. 4-1 Presenting Percy, 6-1 Chris's Dream, 10-1 Sizing John, and it's 11 bar.
Kenboy then, what did you make of his reappearance?
Not a lot really, to be honest. I was expecting more, put it that way. But then maybe we're wrong to expect too much of these horses first time out. You know, Delta Work didn't impress, did he, first time out this season? But then, you know, those who kept the faith are rewarded last time and he put up a much better display. So, you know, based on what we know of Ken Boy and what we saw at the back end of last season, I don't think one kind of slightly below par run is a reason to kind of give up on him at all. I mean, last spring he was amazing. Obviously, Cheltenham didn't go to plan. He unfortunately, you know, he unseated at the first. But after that, I mean, Aintree, he was absolutely electric. And again, after that...
He earned himself a very high rating, didn't he?
Yeah, and he looked awesome. He looked the horse that they would all have to beat this season in the kind of staying chase division. But the jumping didn't go to plan at all last time. He can be a lot better than that. So I wonder if they'll just be bold and be positive on him again, a bit like his Savills Chase win last season, where they took the race by the scruff of the neck, and he seemed to respond to that. And, you know, he won absolutely in brilliant fashion. So, yeah, by no means do give up on Ken Boy at all. You know, one bad run doesn't mean he's suddenly, you know, he's lost what he had at the end of last season. I think Delta Work proved that at Christmas. You know, I'd expect a lot of progression from him.
Okay, that's interesting. Presenting Percy, obviously, he's got a big following. Chris's Dream could be a bit of a fly in the ointment. And as you mentioned, been as sizing John after that incident last time. Who would be sort of the one for you in the market at the moment?
Well, Maddy, I try and avoid favourites, but I'm a huge Ken Boy fan. As Nick said, he was fourth to Delta Work last time at Christmas in the Savills, but that was after a 241-day break. He was a bit rusty over the earlier fences, made a mistake at something like the 6th or the 7th. I think Willie Mullins will have really worked on his jumping since then. He was brilliant at Aintree last year and in the Punchestown Gold Cup, where he beat the Cheltenham Gold Cup winner Alboom Photo. I think Ken Boy will come on a lot for that first run, and he will win our race.
Okay, confidence then from Paul Binfield. As I mentioned just then, Bruce and the team will be getting much more in-depth on those races when we have the final declarations on Friday, so tune in for that show, don't miss it.
What's my horse's handicap? The fact that you're backing him? Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only, one per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
So we're into the final section of this Monday Postcast, and as per usual, our pundits are going to pick out some horses they fancy this week. I'll run you through the meetings. Tuesday is Downroyal, Newcastle, Lingfield and Southall. Wednesday is Hereford, Leicester, Kempton. Thursday, Southall, Wincanton, Limerick, Fosslas, Chelmsford. Friday is Catterick, Lingfield, Chepstow and Newcastle, all building up to what should be a magnificent weekend at Sandown and Leopardstown for the Dublin Racing Festival. Who's your next best this week, Paul Binfield?
Well, Lingfield has an inspection on Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning. Hopefully they'll pass that down at Leafy Lingfield. I'm going further north on Tuesday, though. The 210, a 3-mile handicap chase, a horse called Glittering Love for Nicky Richards. This one fell last time at the same track, but hopefully there's no ill effects. We'll never know how the horse was going to do when he took a tumble five fences from home, but he was brilliant last season, winning four on the bounce, and I think he can return to winning ways.
Superb. And Nick's keeping his powder dry for the nap, so we'll get on to those now.
This will not be beaten.
Take it away then. Which track are you looking at for your nap?
Yeah, I'm getting to Chepstow on Friday.
Lovely track, Chepstow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very it's a strange track. It's very up and down. It doesn't suit every horse, but Porter Mars, a horse of Ollie Murphy's, won there last time out. Provided Richard Johnson with one of his last winners before he got injured.
Because he very nearly pulled him up, didn't he, on the line?
Yeah, it masked his superiority a little bit, but he travelled really well through the race. So obviously the track, heavy ground around Chepstow, a slog, suits him perfectly. He's got really strong staying genes, and he runs in a 220, which I think is just over short of 3 miles. So everything points to a repeat course and distance win for him.
It does, and Ollie Murphy, his trainer, has been in excellent form of late. He's got a stable full of promising horses. Port of Mars may be another. Binners, who is your nap?
I'm going to Leopardstown on Sunday, big day where I've already mentioned we sponsor the Irish Gold Cup, but another important race for me that day is the Spring Juvenile at 125. My friend Brendan Duke has got 2 in there, Clemencia and Legan Gallagher. I'm not quite sure which one he runs. I guess he'll have to talk to Mr. Bolger, but if he runs Clemencia, I think that one will run a huge race. He was fourth in the Night Frank Juvenile at Leopardstown over Christmas. I think he could be a lot better than that, and could easily run into a place off a big price, or possibly even wins. So I hope they go with Clemencia, but whichever runs, all the best to the Curragh Conjurer.
Superb. Then your notebooks are full of horses from the weekend, and we've also looked forward to the Dublin Racing Festival. So there are your tips for that. As I mentioned, the show on Friday will be full of plenty more insight, so make sure you tune into that, and we'll see you next week.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.